Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast, brought to you, as always, by our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
With Chris Level, I'm Chois Woodman. Christopher, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing swell. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, you survived your Kentucky Derby trip?
We did survive. It was fun. Oh man, it is one of those spectacle sporting events for sure.
Oh yeah,
it is everything
I was used to
that
say,
comes with it.
Yeah, and I was used to say, and they don't really have this anymore. Doesn't really exist. The Derby was always one. I always said I wanted to go to I can never decide if I actually ever want to go to a Super Bowl or if it's just so much better to consume it at home on TV, the way it's presented to you with all the things that go on. But I always said, I always wanted to go to a WrestleMania. Okay, just because I think it would be a scene. Yeah. And it was. I've been twice.
Yeah.
The Masters, been there 3 times. The Kentucky Derby was always one for me. But I always said too that I wanted to go to a big heavyweight fight. Because I always thought that's a scene. That's like a circus. But those are just don't really exist anymore. It doesn't, and not that it needs to be heavyweight, but just like a big boxing match.
You're not all in on this. Who's the
Mike
Paul
Tyson
brother?
and Jake Paul? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no. I mean, I'm not. Won't tell you that I won't. Spend $20 to watch it though in the middle of the summer when there's nothing else going on though. So
Sure.
I don't.
Sure.
But yeah, but there's a few of those things because I think that sometimes the sizzle is as much fun as the steak. And some of these events, it's as much about the sizzle as it is the steak, and some of those events are the best whenever you combine the both. So, anyways, but yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. I would like to do that at some point too.
Yeah, probably I think it's the first time in my adult life that I've worn a bow tie, probably the last as well. So
was it a clip-on or you tied it?
No, wife tied it. Even better.
Okay, there you go. That's great.
She's really handy with stuff. She watched a YouTube
video. She runs your house. She
100%.
Yeah, she's way too good to you, man.
Absolutely. So no, we had fun. And the race itself was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Photo finish and
first one or that close since what was it, 1949, 1950, something like that?
Yeah, I mean it was.
Which that's a much different picture that they were taking back then compared to what we got on Saturday.
Yeah. So it was neat. All the celebrities are out. And like I walk out, we're walking out the night of the Derby, and Kirk Herbstreit's right next to me, walking out of the place, and it's just weird. And my wife sends me a picture because she's off somewhere else, and she sends me a picture of Isaiah Pacheco. But then right in the picture, she didn't know it, Chris Tucker's in the picture as well, and it's just one of those things. One of those fun ones for sure.
That's why I think the big fight feel, or the big fight, because it's like, it's about the sizzle, and you never know who you're going to see.
Exactly.
Keep your head on a swivel, because you might bump into somebody that you're like, oh, well, looky there, I'm breaking bread with a movie star, TV star, whatever you got going. So, well, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Did you have a mint julep?
I did.
And I guess when you're there, you have to dabble,
you gotta
just
at least
because
try
that's
it.
When in Rome, right?
Of course.
But there's nothing in that drink that is appealing to me.
It wasn't bad to me. I mean, there was a lot of people that didn't like it around me, but it was pretty good. Now, it wasn't my favorite or go.
Loaded with calories too, right?
The whole calories don't count when you're at these kind of events.
That's touche.
So, speaking of, the sizzle, there's a few football questions I want to get to, but basketball has gotten some news recently. Since you and I last sat down and chatted, new point guard and a coveted point guard that we talked about last time for Grant McCaslin and company, and the roster, we're slowly seeing it start to mold and take shape.
Shout out on the transition there, professional segue.
Sizzle.
You're a pro. I mean, speaking of sizzle, got a couple of questions in about, I just wanted to make sure that that's well played there.
Thank you.
And I'm being very unprofessional by like calling out exactly kind of how it happened, but I just wanted a bit of a tip of the cap there from one podcaster / broadcaster to another.
Thank you.
So yeah, there you go. Yeah, speaking of sizzle, Elijah Hawkins, I guess what was this? Was this it was early last week as we sit here and talk.
Monday or Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, of about a week ago, yeah. And that's fresh off of an official visit. I think there was some discussion that he could take a Kentucky visit.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up committing to you. Then Kentucky ends up getting Kirk Risa from West Virginia, the former Arizona player that also plays point guard. And then at that point, I think West Virginia added former Oklahoma State point guard Javon Small. And so there was kind of this, but the Red Raiders arguably end up with one of the top point guards in the portal. Okay. If not the top, at least at the time. You also end up with what I think is would be identified as your most important, not only addition, but maybe your player on your team next season. And there's a bit of a face of the program type feel for him in some ways. Not he could share this, okay, with D5 and Chance and others, but I definitely think he's on the poster for when you're trying to pump up this next season, because he's one of the best passers in college basketball. I think that it's pretty telling when Chance McMillan, while the visit is going on, Chance McMillan, I think maybe even you and I talked about this the last time we discussed, but it's like, shout out, the Red Raider Nation, you show some love to my guy. And I mean, the combo guard that stands to benefit from an elite passer would like a really good passer on his team, right? And so yeah, there you go. And so it's a nice fit for you. But yeah, it's a big time addition, and that's the one I've seen other people kind of highlight, Kevin Overton.
Yeah,
and he could be like one of your best additions of your portal class. But Elijah Hawkins is going to be the one that, to me, decides whether you are a contender or not, kind of thing, with next season.
Last true point guard, like true pass first point guard you've had at Texas Tech was Keenan Evans. You would call him that? He was.
Yeah, he was a scorer. I think he knew how to play the pick and roll. You've had a lot of guys like Keenan. Your Matt Mooney's, your Keenan Evanses. Jarrett could play a little, guard for you. I think there's been a variety of different players in recent years that on some of your best teams. I mean, Jamias Ramsey was a guard. He wasn't a point. Very talented.
I mean, but who's the last guy that is an assist guy like Hawkins is supposed to be? That's hard to. I mean, it's a long ways back, isn't it?
Probably so. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of those guys on that TBT team that were in here. Your John Robertsons.
Yeah, he might be the answer right there.
And he scored some too, but it's just players love to play with guys that make everybody around them better.
Right.
And I think that when you average close to 8 assists per game, you go into a game trying to involve everybody. Otherwise, you don't end up with that many assists on average per game. And there's some games last year where I think Hawkins ended up with 15 assists, type stuff, which is crazy.
He was second in the nation in assists, right?
And average assists per game, yes.
Yeah.
I think too, what'll be fascinating, like the basketball part of it is, because he averages about just under 10 points a game. I think it was like 9.5 in Minnesota last year. And I think came from Georgia Tech before that. But a lot of times teams will say, hey, man, we're going to play off of you. We're not going to let you beat us with the assist. We're going to make you score. We're going to see if you can actually score 20 to 25 because we feel like we can take away a lot of what you do via the pass, then and so that's it's almost always the opposite. You rarely see somebody so good that you take away or try to limit their ability to get other guys involved or limit the pass. You see, hey, we're going to take this shooter away. We're going to take this score away. We're going to face guard. We're going to double him, get the ball out of his hands, not let him catch it. Rarely do you see, and I'd be willing to bet you that you see some teams, like put, Elijah Hawkins in a situation where he has to, beat you by scoring or try to, kind of thing, which is an interesting dynamic, just something to think about. It's a compliment to how good of a facilitator he is.
Sure.
Okay.
So, it's this question from the audience. This one comes from Tara. It says, why did our new high school commit so late in the process?
Leon Horner III, 6'6", 200, Big 12 frame, all that stuff. A variety of different scholarship offers, mostly all mid-major. Couple of teams on that list that you regularly play in the non-conference: Sam Houston State, UTA.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw Mount St. Mary's, which has had been very successful in recent years at different times. Hofstra, Florida A&M, variety of different things. But he's got a relationship with Kellen Buffington. I think he's known Grant McCaslin for several years. Their family does, or just, from basketball circles and all those things. I just think, one, it's harder for high school kids to earn scholarships unless they're a no-brainer.
Right.
I think a lot of times you wait on purpose to see what else is available to you, like potentially a Texas Tech offer, which may have happened here, just to see kind of what's a good fit, and does this, I think that you have a situation where you can't keep 13 mouths fed on a basketball team.
Yeah.
Like as in starter minutes, as in primary role. And so I think you need, some guys that you can bring along a bit slower, and then I think that can, be a developmental guy. It's not a knock, but it's going to provide you depth, and maybe he's much better early on than you think he would be.
Mm-hmm.
But you may end up with another Leon Horner type or two. It's a change in the way that this portal era and roster building goes.
Instead of doing high school guys first and fill the holes with transfers, it's backwards.
And I think that the fan in everybody has to pay attention that when you see commitment, what are you thinking when you see the basketball commitment? You're thinking, where did he play last year? How many points did he average?
Yeah.
What did he shoot from three? How does he fit into what we need right now? It's a totally different mindset.
Absolutely.
And yet when you see this one, it's like, okay, I'm not real familiar with him.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this? How does he fit in? Well, he fits in like every other football commitment you've had in the last 15 years. Where you bring them in and it's going to be a year or two.
Yeah.
So that's the That's the deal.
Yeah, just a different situation. But I think you're exactly right on the mouths to feed thing. You can't go get 13 guys that scored double digits last year, or you're going to end up more than likely with some chemistry issues on your team as well. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Or you just you lose them. They go portaling. And I've seen people go, well, by the time he gets any good, he'll leave us. It's certainly possible.
Sure it is.
If he wants to skip a step, or if you want to say, man, you're more of a rotational guy right now, we don't see you as a starter, and he's getting offers to from whatever school it may be. I mean, you come in here and start, dude.
Yeah.
You just hope that your relationship with him and you pouring into him pays off. There's no guarantees, but I think that these are important pieces to rosters. But like, I go back to the recruiting class from 2 years ago. Is Robert Jennings still here? Is Lamar Washington still here? Is Pop Isaac still here? Is Elijah Fisher still here? No, they're all gone. And so it's a fair question to ask when you sign
Sure it is.
high school freshmen. So
yeah,
as long as there's a transparency there and we all understand what we want from you, we understand what you want from us. Now maybe at some point that changes, and if it does, then you have a different conversation. But at least we're all up front on it. And because would you rather go start your college career and get your feet wet near home at a Power 4 with all the nutrition and strength conditioning and elite coaching you'll get and Adidas stuff and all that comes with it and some NIL, or do you want to go try to figure out life at Florida A&M or Hofstra, or Sam Houston, where it's pretty tough? And those are decisions that the player or the family have to make.
Yeah.
You may be in a position where you would play a lot more at the other option as opposed to the Texas Tech option, but
all right. One more basketball question here, and we've had this one for the last 3 weeks. Level, what are the chances we get the Osabor guy from Utah State?
Should know something in the next week. Maybe if somebody submits that question in for the next episode after this one, maybe we'll have an answer.
But he's still, Tech is still thought to be in his top 3 or 4.
I think he's, as we sit here and talk, I think he's on campus right now.
Yeah.
The other option for him that he hasn't visited yet is University of Washington. That's where his previous head coach at Utah State, Danny Sprinkle, is now the head coach, and they just recently picked up a center. But so have you. So I don't know if that, it's about role and fit and minutes available to play and NIL and all kinds of things that factor into this deal.
Everything.
But yeah, that's right.
Spin
the wheel.
No kidding. What's more important to this particular kid in this situation? Okay. This one from Leah. Sorry, one more basketball. How did the official visits go for Texas Tech so far? How have they gone so far is what she's asking for the official visits.
Well, I think with pretty much everybody. The only one that I'm aware of, Trezarian White, is still up in the air.
Okay.
But other than Andrew Carr, I think everybody that you brought in here, I think this is right, everybody you brought in here on a visit you've gotten.
So right now, Carr went to, is that Kentucky? Is that right? Okay, so Carr went to Kentucky. Osabor on campus, as you said, as we speak, and Trezarian White, which, depending when you listen to this podcast, he could be committed somewhere because it's an ever-changing landscape. But yeah, you've hit pretty well. If you can get them to campus, it's been a pretty high shooting percentage there. So
you've done well.
Yeah. Kelly asks, hard left on this one. Kelly asks, does Texas Tech baseball have a chance to make the postseason? Level? Man, we were talking. We had questions 2 weeks ago of could Texas Tech host, and now it is legitimately a uphill climb to make the postseason for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, at the time, I think I said, well, you're going to have to be pretty close to perfect.
You did.
And you haven't been, far less than that, almost to the point where, what do you have, 3 road series left?
Two road series and the Big 12. Yeah. Yeah, okay. You got OSU on the road and then the little thing in Arizona State where you play 2 against them and 1 against UNLV, and then Big 12 tournament. If you get in, which isn't 100% sure at this point.
That really tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
On where you're at.
Yeah.
Entered last week as a projected 3 seed, NCAA stuff, what's out there. Got swept at home for the first time since 2007, I believe, right?
Yeah, that goes back about 3 coaches.
And it just doesn't seem to be working out this year, for whatever reason. Just not quite good enough, not quite consistent enough.
Yeah.
Pitching shows up, hitting doesn't. There's been a few injuries and just bad luck. You got guys with injuries during practice. The one devastating injury you have, guys getting hit in the dugout during a game. You've got another kid getting hit in the head on your previous road series up in Lawrence. It also speaks to how kind of, I don't know if the right word is spoiled, but how used to just, well, of course they're going to be in this. Of course they're going to host a regional. Of course they're going to go to Omaha, but that seems a bit far off right now.
It does.
And I would ask you this question. This is one of the criticisms, and it's not necessarily criticism. It's almost differences in philosophy. But does Tim Tadlock need to embrace the portal more than he has?
I don't think he's going to have much option here. I think he's tried to hold out as long as possible and bring in these freshman guys.
And he's still dabbled in the portal a bit. Okay. Just hasn't really majored in it.
Right. I mean, Gavin Cash is a portal guy. You got him from Texas.
Yeah.
Hester last year was a portal guy. He was your leadoff guy every day. But he hadn't wanted to be where it's even a 50-50 split. It's the dabbling is what he's wanted. And I think the philosophy is going to have to change on that, because you look back to last weekend against Oklahoma, a team that just swept Texas Tech. I believe the number is 75, if not like 80% of their roster started somewhere else before they went to Oklahoma. 80% transfers. It's somewhere in that range. I don't know the exact number, but
because in Coach Tadlock's situation and with his sport, they've done such a good J-Bob and Coach Gardner and all that. They've done such a good job of recruiting and evaluating and identifying that a lot of times they don't end up with several members of said recruiting class, because they're just it's professional baseball. The one thing with the portal is you can kind of go shopping and guarantee yourself, I'm recruiting, I know I'm going to get you. Like, I know if you say yes, I know that, there's no worry about me planning on you. And then just skipping the step with, because who are the best examples of that? Who are those 2 Canadian kids?
The Nailers.
Yes, both of them. I mean,
both of them playing for Cleveland right now. Yeah.
I mean, and somewhere on a back of a baseball card, maybe, I probably didn't even list it there. They were both committed to Texas Tech, signed with Texas Tech, all that stuff, but never.
Yeah, I mean, and you've had tons of those guys in the big leagues. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, that guy was once signed with Texas Tech. Dustin May, I believe is his name, the long-haired dude for the Dodgers that was really good for a little while. There's been plenty that J-Bob, more specifically, has been able to reel in, but you can't get them to campus because there's some giant signing bonuses out there.
And I think that much like football and basketball, NIL is becoming a little bit more prevalent in college baseball.
Yeah, it is.
The SEC is certainly flexing their muscles there.
No doubt.
I mean, you just go look at any projection and like who's going to host, and the SEC is just
it's everywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah, and quite frankly, if Texas Tech is going to keep up in baseball, financial backing has got to become a priority for whoever wants them to keep up. If not, then you're going to fall behind or be a middle of the pack team. It's as simple as that. It's a definite you're behind in a lot of categories, whether it comes to NIL or facilities or whatever that looks like. You're well behind the 8 ball compared to a lot of the peers. I mean, even Oklahoma State right now, you've been on par with them, if not a little better as a program since Tim Tadlock's been here. But they got a shiny new stadium that's amazing out there, O'Brate.
What did your new renovation or was a clubhouse?
Yeah,
locker room,
and it's nice in there.
Coaches' offices.
Yes, yeah, $14 million,
which is a big number. I mean,
it is.
You could, if you gave that money to you or I, you'd be podcasting with somebody else, man. And you just don't have a worry in the world for generations.
You mean if you hit it big,
if you're smart about it,
you're gonna leave
saying.
me?
If you know what I'm saying?
I know.
Hypothetical.
And
yet, facilities wise, I don't want to. This probably comes off as harsh, but and I don't mean it to be, but it's a bit of a Band-Aid.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Like if you're serious about what Tech needs, it's a whole new ballpark if you're keeping up with the Joneses. So it's a tough one. It really is. But that's where you're at. And Tech is light years ahead of the peers out on the West Coast in college baseball. You go look out there at Cal or go look at even Stanford, who's College World Series team a lot. Even you go out to those places, and Tech is way better facility than those places. So it's just there's huge chasms between them, and the SEC's got the biggest one.
Nice usage of the term chasms.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. That's well done. Yeah.
All right, we got a football question before we close this one down.
As the former WWE World Heavyweight Champion Roman Reigns would say,
okay,
there are levels to this.
Yeah.
Whereas a $14 million renovation, it's huge. You are thankful. You needed it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There are levels to this. Like when I talk to my kid about making a high school team, okay, do you want to make the team? Do you want to get to play?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start? Do you want to be the best player on the team? Do you want to be a captain? There are levels to this. And I think that in college baseball right now, there are levels to all the things. And as long as you kind of have some context there, it's an interesting conversation. But I mean, it may require a bit of a philosophy change for Coach Tadlock, which may be difficult for them to do, or to just, because this is the way they've done it, and they've been really good at it, but things are certainly changing.
Yeah.
And I don't know with their league too, Woodman, is it a bit watered down now? Is this, because this has been a couple of years now where this league hasn't just been great.
Right.
It's not the basketball version of the Big 12 at all. Like the basketball version of the Big 12 is getting stronger. I would venture an argument that in many ways baseball is getting weaker as we go. So it doesn't mean that you can't correct and prove otherwise, but look at what is projected to go I mean, the only host is what, Oklahoma right now, according to most.
Right now, yeah,
they're not going to be in your league next year.
Maybe Oklahoma State, depending where you look.
Okay.
But that's bubble host.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those. Yeah, and my one concern as a Tech fan, and this isn't towards Tadlock or anybody else, but how much longer does Tadlock want to keep trying to play from behind? Like, if he ever gets another job offer that's like, man, it could be so much easier to just go there, play with the shiny toys. They want to offer way more NIL. This make the job a lot easier than trying to play catch up the whole time.
He does love living in Lubbock, and he does make
sure.
million. He does make about $1 million. So I mean,
he's got a lifetime contract. So
I'd play with toys that weren't shiny for $1 million a year. But
no, I think, well, we don't have lakes around here. I know how much Coach Tadlock
likes to fish,
a fisherman. Yeah. So if anybody
comes... wasn't that part of the UT negotiations and the joke that he and Kirby told each other kind of when it all came back out? I was like, I'll stock one of those ponds out there at Rawls Golf Course. You can go fish out there anytime you want.
I think that was, I think it was. Well, I'm actually going to hold on to our football questions for next week because I want you to be able to fully answer and give some time to it. But just to tease them for people to tune in next week, someone asked who the best defensive back will be for Texas Tech in 2024 and the 3 most draftable players for Tech in 2020 or in the 2025 draft for Red Raider football players. So we'll get to those coming around next time. But Level, enjoyed it as usual. Thanks for giving me some time and hanging out.
Mint juleps for everybody, man.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Again, there are levels to this.
There are levels.
Our man Woodman, some people have a bucket list. Our man Woodman has a bucket list, right? So it's not like, man, I'd love to go to, sneak out way out of town for a weekend here or there or whatever, I'd love to go see this or that. No, he just went straight to the top. No, man, appreciate it. Glad you had a good time. Glad you're back. Thank you to Cantex Roofing for being a part of this one. As always, Choice, we will see what else happens basketball roster wise.
Yep.
Kind of starting to get a bit quieter with everything. Football did just pick up an additional late edition via a preferred walk-on type that may have a chance to play some. So we can get into all that when we resume next.
Sounds good. We'll do it. That's Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. You've been tuned into the Ask Level podcast, brought to you by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.